The story of Jesus casting a demon out of a man from the region of Gerasene, often called the cleansing of the Gerasene demoniac, is among the most vivid in the Gospels. It has a man living among the tombs whom no one can constrain. Even chains are unable to constrain him, and he howls like an animal and hurts himself with stones. The story has a spoken encounter between Jesus and the demon possessing the man. It has the vivid detail of the demons leaving the man and entering a large herd of swine who run together down the hill into the Sea of Galilee and drown themselves. But among these vivid details, there are two details, one obvious and one subtle, that to me are the most intriguing of all. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Saturday, January 21st, 2023. Today's reading from the daily lectionary from the Gospel of Mark is most memorable because of its vivid details. I won't read the whole thing here, but I encourage you to read it on your own. For the Gospel of Mark, which usually tells stories with a minimum of detail, this is a very long, detailed story. The setup is that after Jesus has healed the sick, argued with the scribes and Pharisees, recruited 12 disciples, taught in the synagogue, and taught large crowds by the lakeside, he needs a break. He tells his disciples to cross to the other side of the lake in the boat and to escape the crowd. On their way to the other side, a storm arises, and Jesus demonstrates his authority over nature by calming the wind and the waves. Now they reach the other shore and are immediately met by a demon-possessed man. He lives among the tombs. He is outside the Jewish region of Galilee, and he has a demon. And when the demons leave the man, they enter a herd of swine. In short, everything about this story is unclean. Jews considered contact with the dead to render you unclean. They considered demons and those whom they possess to be unclean. They consider the citizens of Gerasa to be unclean. They're Gentiles, after all. And finally, pigs are among the most unclean animals. And yet, here's Jesus in an unclean place, speaking to an unclean man and to unclean spirits in the vicinity of unclean animals. From a Jewish perspective, everything is wrong here. Why on earth would a Jewish religious figure, one who is even referred to as rabbi, why would he put himself in such a place? The answer is as simple as it is powerful. It is a pointed demonstration of Jesus' power and authority, not only within Judaism and among the clean, but also over all things, clean and unclean alike, and in all places. Just as he commanded the wind and the sea and they obeyed him, so now he commands a demon who also obeys. The unclean demon, or demons, leave the unclean man, enter the unclean swine, and they promptly rush headlong to their deaths. But now comes the really subtle portion of the story. I mentioned a few days ago that one of the characteristic features of the Gospel of Mark is something scholars have called the messianic secret. It is so called because over and over again Jesus tells people he has healed not to tell anyone what has happened. And when we reach the end of the gospel, I'll talk about why Jesus would not want word of his healing miracles to be spread around. But now, listen to the end of this story. I think the subtle detail will pop out to you at once. The swineherds ran off and told it in the city and in the country, that is what Jesus had done. Then people came to see what it was that had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the demoniac sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, the very man who had the legion, and they were afraid. Those who had seen what had happened to the demoniac and to the swine reported it. Then they began to beg Jesus to leave their neighborhood. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed by demons begged him that he might go with him. But Jesus refused and said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and what mercy he has shown you." And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone was amazed. Did you catch it? Jesus tells the man he had healed to go home and tell all his friends what had happened and how much the Lord had done for him. No messianic secret here. No warning to keep it to himself. So what's different here? In a word, geography. Jesus is no longer among his Jewish people. He's across the Sea of Galilee on its eastern shore in a non-Jewish region. In a word, he's now among the Gentiles, apparently for the very first time. Things are different here. Without giving away too much about the mystery of the messianic secret, the point is that these people have no preconceived ideas about the Messiah. They are open to someone like Jesus without preconceived ideas about what he should or should not do. It is the opening foray into ministry outside Israel and beyond the Jewish people. And Jesus knows they will be receptive to the message, perhaps even more so than his Jewish friends and neighbors on the western shore and throughout Israel. It is a small detail, but it tells us a lot. When we return Monday, Jesus returns to the western shore and resumes his ministry of healing. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do, this day and in all the days ahead.